the dragon charmer, the only bard you'll ever need. Brig Hellclaw, the heart disarmer, just rode in on your lover's steed. In the shadows he moves unseen, while on stage he takes the lead. Brig Hellclaw, that bearded strummer, don't forget to buy him mead. Deep below Mount Tiamat, his words disarmed the worms. Sneaking in the dark of night, he'll steal your heart for sure. In the light, he'll make things right, and you'll love him even more. Brig Hellclaw, that rakish siren, spinning tales of distant shores. The show will always go on, but he not just to sing or strike a chord, but to leave them wanting more. Brig Hellclaw, that roguish bard, watch out for what he has in store. He's in your town for one night only, be sure to bring your gold. Sit yourself down and grab a flagon, enjoy the stories told. Writing songs for friends and foes, his music warms your soul. Brig Hellclaw, the storyteller, songs will make you whole. The show will always go on, but he never forgets his mission. Not just to sing or strike a chord, but to leave them wanting more. Brig Hellclaw, that roguish bard, watch out for what he has in store. Brig Hellclaw, the storm runner, may he live forevermore. Brig Hellclaw, that bardish rogue, the crowd demands an encore. That'll do, Brig. That'll do.
And hello everybody, welcome to the first Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show of 2022. I am Gaarawarr. That's what they keep paying me to say, at least. I am here today. We're going to talk about, we're going to do a little bit of a review of last year, of the champs that came out last year. So 2021 Champions Part 4. We broke them up. We broke them up into groupings, 4 different groupings, because in 2021, like at the beginning, I did a review show, and I had to do all of the champions that came out in 2020, and that almost broke me, folks. That's too many champions. That was like 17 event champions and an evergreen, and that's too much to do in a show like this. So we've split them up. So today we're going to cover what you see on screen. We're going to cover Brig. We're going to cover Whittle. We're going to cover Jorvin. We're going to cover Zeraphon, and we're going to cover Viconia. We'll talk a little bit about each of them. Again, this is kind of your introduction to these champions, kind of understanding of the basics of how they work. For high-level play stuff, you're going to want to hit up the Discord or the subreddit and see who's been really crunching their numbers and trying to manipulate them super hard. So for those of you who are new to Idle Champions, and there are some of you out there, welcome. The way this show works is for the first hour-ish, I just talk at you. I go over all this stuff. You are free to ask questions, but I won't do a Q&A until the second half of the show. That being said, Jay is in the mod pod today. Jay's going to be pulling questions from chat, so if you ask them, they will go into a little document I've got over here on my screen, and when we get to the Q&A portion, I will hit those up. For this type of show, I tend to tend to hit the on-topic stuff first. Once I run out of that, I go back and then I hit everything else. So general Q&A will be in the second half. With musical interludes, of course, because there's always music on this show. We started off with Brig's song. I think we're going to go into the break with the Q&A break with Whittle's song. And then I think we're going to wrap up with Jorvin's song. Because we don't have songs for Zeraphon and Biconia that I can recall. The end of last year. I don't remember the end of last year. It was a whole year ago, right? Alright, so let us dive in. First things first, Brig Hellclaw. Created by none other than the bard himself, Jason Charles Miller, who you were just listening to sing a song about his own character. Yay! Brig's got a couple skins. I wanted to show him in the base one first, but obviously we're going to switch over really quickly to the Ascendant skin, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's golden and beautiful. So, Brig is slot 3. Slot 3 base attack for this human rogue bard is War Loot. He leaps out and smashes a random enemy with his metallic guitar. Don't worry, folks. It's not going to damage it. It's all magical and whatnot. It can take it. Brig builds everything off of hype. It's all about the hype, as it should be for a performer, right? Brig increases damage of everyone in the formation by 100%. For each hype stack, the buff is increased by 10%, stacking additively and then applying multiplicatively. That means that's the normal way. Additively, then multiplicatively is the normal way. You can see hype over here in outgoing effects under formation buffs if you want to see just how many hype stacks he's building. But we build hype in a variety of different ways, and that's what the other abilities are for. So Rallying Chord, Brig's hype is increased by 5, while at least one enemy has been defeated within the last 10 seconds. So as long as you're actually killing stuff, it's just going to go up by 5. If no enemy is defeated in the last 20 seconds, Brig gives 1 hype stack each time a unique champion attacks, up to a maximum of 10 hype stacks. So if you do your math, 10 is greater than 5. That means this portion of the hype buff from Rallying Chord can actually double if you're not killing things. That's the nice way. To get stronger when you need it, and that's what Rallying Chord does. Again, so far, no real placement indicators. As a support, he can just basically be anywhere based off the abilities we've seen. But we're going to keep looking at what he tells us and see if we have to put him somewhere specific. Inspired Bard. Brig gains 1 hype stack for each adjacent champion, so that informs us that we kind of want to have him surrounded by as many champions as possible, if we can pull it off. Again, it's just 1 hype stack per, so it's not like we have to demolish a formation just to give Brig. I'm going to do this forever. Brig. 1 more hype stack, right? So it gains an additional hype stack for each adjacent champion whose listed attack damage is higher than his. What's the listed attack damage, folks? It's what you see down here below them. That's what they're looking for. That's what they consider listed, not this stuff up here. Don't look up here. Right down here, below each of the champions. That's what it's referring to. All right. Spec Choices. He can either be a backup singer or the cream of the crop. We all know Brig's the cream of the crop. But in terms of choices, it's really going to depend on what you're doing with your formation. So for backup singer, Brig gains 2 hype stacks for each champion in front of him in the formation. So that's a nice flat bonus if you can get in if your formation has a layout that can put him in the back by himself. That's pretty solid, right? Cream of the Crop says he gains 2 hype stacks for each champion in the formation whose listed attack damage is lower than himself. So if for some reason he's the top DPS, well, maybe not the top DPS, but if he's the one coming in and everybody really high and everybody else is really low, then you might want to do this one. So that's situational. As you can see over here, he's higher than all but one person in this kind of faux formation Foamation? I don't know. I'll figure that out later. So I would choose backup singer in this situation, right? Just to give him as much hype as possible. Based off what I'm looking at. Obviously, this isn't a real formation, but, you know, for demonstration purposes. Critical moment. Brig gains 1 hype stack for every 5 enemies on the screen, rounded up. He gains an additional 10 hype stacks whenever a boss enemy is on the screen. Folks, this can really... Again, this is one of those abilities that I like, because it gets better when you need it to, right? So the more enemies that are building up on the screen, the more he's buffing the party. That's what you need. That's what you need, because obviously if enemies are building up on the screen, you need more damage to kill them. And Brig's going to deliver. If you want to do the math on this, the maximum number of enemies you can have on the screen, like of trash mobs, like these giant frogs, 100. 100. So that means you could gain 20 hype stacks for that first part. Now, if you were on a level where it was a boss monster and it has endless spawn, you could have 100 plus the boss monster. But that's, if you need that much, you've got problems. You've got problems, right? Yeah. There we go. Is that gonna be? Okay. You can track all this stuff over here. Like we can see backup singer, we can see critical moment. Volume. Wait. Why did I not see volume up? Did I skip volume up somewhere? Oh, there it is. It goes way down from critical moment. Okay. I was like, there's a permanent stacking. Well, not permanent stacking, but there's a permanent one. Here it is. Volume up. Increases a damage bonus of hype based on the highest number of hype stacks that Brig has ever had at once. So this means at least at one point in your use of Brig, you're going to want to create that situation where there's 100 enemies on the screen, maybe even 100 plus the boss enemy, right? To try to get a permanent value for volume up that is always super high. So the increase is 5% per hype stack, stacking multiplicatively before applying. That multiplicatively is the good way. So if we look, the most I've ever tried to finagle, I don't even think I've tried it. I think this is just whatever the most I've ever had is 56. That gives me, with post-stack bonuses and multipliers, I have about a 9,000 bonus, right? So it's just a nice extra little bonus to go with all of these others to ultimately, get him his total overall buffs. Ultimate solo. Brig performs a killer solo with flashing lights and musical notes flying everywhere, damaging and pushing enemies back with a massive sound power. For the next 30 seconds, Brig hype stacks are increased by 11. Because of course they are. And here, let me turn off the level indicator. Here we go. He's going to play that solo. That's what it looks like. Now, of course, the hype stacks get thrown up and increased by 11 for a little while. But yeah, the animation doesn't continue forever. Pretty cool animation, though. I like it. That's what I want to see. Item-wise, because he's a support, you're going to get 2 damage all champion items. You're going to get a buff for his hype. Of course you are. You get to buff that volume up. That's that permanent one. And then you go ultimate attack damage and then ultimate attack cooldown. Feat-wise, we get the usual damage all champions feats. He can go in straight up buffing hype in multiple ways, like a lot of buff and hype. And then he buffs volume up. He gets an int +1 and another volume up. But that's it. That's all of his stuff, folks. It's all of his stuff. Now, hold on. It's been so long since I played this game. Yeah, the int one qualifies him for Strahd. I'm like, that's got to be it, right? That's the only reason they'd give him an int one. That's it. That's Brig. I really like this int skin. That's about all I can really say. Other than that, that's Briv in a nutshell. He's pretty straightforward. Whenever you have a champion that's built around like one ability that everything else feeds into, they tend to be pretty straightforward. It's when they have a lot of like abilities that don't necessarily match up together, and you have to like take them all into account, that it can be problematic. So having him, I put him in the spec that wants him all the way in the back, but he also likes to be surrounded by lots of people. In this formation, he could technically be surrounded by 4 while being all the way in the back, and let's get, still get some bonuses from in front of him as well as the ones from around him. Yeah. Yep. All right. Whittle. Whittle's up next. Whittle is a Dampier Gnome wizard. Healing, support, and speed from the Heroes of the Plains. Oh, Brig is from Sirens. They did put his affiliation from Sirens, right? They have none. What? Technically, Brig is from Sirens, a.k.a. Sirens. Once upon a time, Sirens of the Realms. I don't know. They anything to do that affiliation? Who knows? Anyway, Whittle, one of the Heroes of the Plains. Dampier Gnome. What's a Dampier? It's a wet vampire. That's it. Take my word for it, folks. I wouldn't lie. Blunderbolt is the basic attack. Whittle's a wizard, but if you want to think about it, the blunderbuss that she carries is like her arcane focus. The spells come out of that. Whittle fires a firebolt from her enormous blunderbuss, damaging a random enemy. There you go. Whittle has a skin as well. Ascendant Whittle. Of course, I'm going to switch over to that. This is her Lugaroo form. I think that's the pronunciation. I think on top of being a Dampier, she's also like a real strong werewolf. This is that iteration of that in skin form. Whittle's Vampiric Gaze is her first one up. Whittle charms those adjacent to her with Vampiric Gaze, increasing their damage by 1%. So this means you want Whittle adjacent to your DPS. That way, at least for the buff, so she can get a damage buff. We're going to see that there's other things that you want Whittle adjacent to your DPS for as well, but that cues it off right there. You just know from this first ability, you want to place Whittle next to your DPS. Hurry up now. Champions affected by Whittle's Vampiric Gaze have a 35% chance to immediately reset their base attack cooldown after they attack. So basically, chance at a free attack. So increasing your wave clear by letting those champions attack again immediately. This specifically, Hurry Up Now, doesn't affect their base attack cooldown or anything like that to affect Bud. It just means they get to trigger another attack. Tasty friends, champions affected by Whittle's Vampiric Gaze look extra tasty to the enemies. Is that a good thing? Each affected champion increases the monster spawn speed by 10%, stacking additively. So this is the speed effect that gets her the speed roll. Basically going to make the enemies move from here to this point where we're able to smack them and kill them faster. That's what spawn speed is. Sometimes there's confusion about that, but yeah, nope, that's what it's all about. Specializations. So Whittle basically does the same thing with each of the specs. It boosts Vampiric Gaze by 50%, but based off the stat score that they have. What you're looking at usually is you're trying to figure out which one of these stat scores is my DPS. Figure that out, and you select that one. So it's all looking at 12 or higher across the board. So you figure out, are you looking at strength dex 12 or higher, then you go strong and steady. You're looking at int con 12 or higher, mind and body. You're looking at wisdom charisma 12 or higher, then wisdom and confidence. It's not super complicated, but you do have to know what your DPS does. So like if we're doing Jorvin DPS, strength clearly is over 20, but a lot of other things are too, but you can just pick one. So we'll go strong and steady because Jorvin clearly meets that requirement. Okay. only as slow as the fastest link. So champions affected by Whittle's vampiric gaze, so again, anybody adjacent to her, has a base attack cooldown equal to the quickest of the affected champions. So that means even if you have a DPS champion who has a super long attack speed, like maybe they're running an 8-second cooldown on their basic attack. If you have somebody who only has like a 4.5-second cooldown on their basic attack next to Whittle as well, that's going to lower everyone around Whittle's basic attack speed down to that 4.5 seconds. Yes, there's some shenaniganry that can happen there if you just want to try to make the fastest attack speed possible for a group. You can, but super fast attack speeds aren't necessarily super highly functional in this game on their own. It's the damage of your attack that matters. But what this does is it gives you, again, it's another addition, another way that Whittle can help you clear faster. Because wave clear is important. Okay. Yeah. Whittle's ultimate, Vampiric Bite. Whittle leaps out and ferociously bites a random enemy, dealing enormous damage. She then leaps back into the formation where a Vampiric Bite heals her and everyone affected by Vampiric Gaze for an amount equal to her own max health. So if you run a lot of tanks, and you boost health quite a bit for Whittle, that can be a solid chunk of healing. I would say it's best for other squishies, which tends to be where you have her, is surrounded by other squishies. Not necessarily going to be the greatest healing on your tanks, right? Here's what it looks like. Bam. Bite. All that blood comes back, and then it heals people that are adjacent to her. And there we go. That's a Whittle about Whittle. Because she's running primarily support, we've got a pair of Damage All Champions items. Boost Vampiric Gaze, that's of course what you want, and then Tasty Friends. So this is the speed effect, so you can boost the speed effect. And we get ultimate attack damage and ultimate attack cooldown reduction. Feat wise, once again, you see Damage All Champions, you see Vampiric Gaze straight up. We get Hurry Up now, which boosts, so that's nice. You do get the Tasty Friends if you want to go all in on that. And then we get a Constitution to buffer up. Which one of these is? There we go, for Vajra. Like, which one again is the Constitution Patron? It's Vajra. It's Vajra. With Whittle, because you can boost attack speed of the people around you, plus also it can just occasionally reset and give you a bonus attack. Remember that too. She's great when you're running like champions that have debuffs that apply on hit, because that means they can spread those debuffs around faster than they might normally. That's people like Freely, who's also here on the plains, or Krull, right? That's fantastic. Also, Caddy Bree. Caddy Bree likes to apply debuffs on hit. Or Kira, right? So there is some synergy there in just quickly applying the debuff. Remember, you still want Whittle to be a solid addition to your overall team in terms of buffing, unless you're solely relying just on debuff application to move forward, right? All right, Jorvin is up next. Jorvin joins us as kind of the champion from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign. So he's a Harengon Barbarian Druid, which is an interesting combination, let me tell you. Basic attack is Ferocious Maul. Jorvin leaps out to the nearest enemy, pinning it in place and attacking it once a second for 5 seconds. We haven't necessarily fully seen that on screen because we're kind of one-shotting things, but basically he would jump out, he would sit on the enemy, and then just go to town on it. Yeah, that's effective. That's effective. Jorvin can be a DPS or a support. Jorvin has this healing tag. Folks, Jorvin does not heal anyone. I'm gonna burst your bubble right here, right now. Jorvin doesn't heal anybody. That's not a thing. We'll talk about what Jorvin does and why they classify that under healing in this game when we get there. Oh, we've already unlocked the ultimate. Let me talk about that real quick. Feywild shape. Jorvin Springpaw wild shapes into a powerful Shadow Mastiff-like creature for 30 seconds. This is creepy, folks. During this time, the attack cooldown is reduced by 2.5 seconds, and their damage is increased by 400%. So this is like a damage boost, self-damage boost ultimate. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Here we go. Boom! Look at that. It's creepy. I told you it was creepy. It's got like shadow stuff coming off of them, and they got like super huge mutated teeth, and they're all dark and wild. But now they attack real fast now. They attack real fast now. He heals them with violence. It's not really a thing. All right, right off the bat, Blood Fury Tattoo. Each time Jorvin attacks during Ferocious Maul, the enemy gains a stack of Blood Fury. Remember, Ferocious Maul is the base attack. He can attack up to 5 times. So, the enemy gains a stack of Blood Fury. Each stack causes them to take 10% or 100% more damage from all sources, stacking multiplicatively. The debuff lasts for 2 seconds, but the timer refreshes when it's applied. So, when Jorvin is mid-maul, it's basically either, if you're using him as DPS, he's boosting himself with 4 of those stacks, because that 5th one, you're going to land it, but then he's going to jump away. He's not going to be attacking anymore. And he's not going to necessarily jump out and attack that same target right away again. So you would get 4 multiplicative stacks for Jorvin themselves. However, if you're using Jorvin as a support, your DPS could potentially get the benefit of all 5 multiplicative stacks. So it's a nice little debuff that applies, but it is a very short window of opportunity to attack once it's been applied, to take advantage of it. Infectious Fury. Enemies that Jorvin has attacked take more damage from all champions when they're attacking the formation. So again, this is another debuff. Jorvin has to have attacked the enemy for this to apply, and the enemy must be attacking the formation. So this doesn't necessarily come into play unless you're dealing with ranged enemies, or you're at the point where enemies are building up on your tanks, right? Danger Sense. This is the healing ability, folks. Champions adjacent to Jorvin take 5 less damage from all attacks, and Jorvin gains a damage boost for 10 seconds when this ability effectively lowers the damage of an enemy attack. So yeah, this is the damage reduction for adjacent champions. It's also a boost for Jorvin, but not for anybody else. So that boost really only matters if you're running Jorvin DPS. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it will change. It will change. We're just, that's its initial thing. And then there's always some kind of shenaniganry that can happen, folks. There are champions that via shenanigans can make that number go real high, and basically they just don't take damage. Artemis is who we're talking about, folks. Specialization choices: Hunger for Blood or Eldritch Claw Tattoo. Hunger for Blood. If an enemy dies while Jorvin is attacking it with Ferocious Maul, Jorvin gains an additional attack and begins attacking another enemy. This can basically put you, as long as he's one-shotting everything, it can put him into continuous attack mode. Hunger for Blood is what you want to choose if you're trying to get Jorvin's achievement. I'm just going to call that out right now. We didn't talk about the achievements for the others, but while we're here, this is required. You have to set up Jorvin up on a level where only Jorvin is killing, and Jorvin is one-shotting everything. You pull Jorvin out, you build up a couple dozen enemies, and then you put Jorvin back in and you let him go to town. With Hunger for Blood, and that's how you get your achievement. It's really that simple. The hardest part is just finding that level. Eldritch Claw Tattoo. This is what you're going to be using the majority of the time. Each time Jorvin attacks during Ferocious Maul, Eldritch energy shoots out and zaps a different enemy, dealing damage based on the amount of health Jorvin's target currently has. capped by Bud. So it's a percentage Bud zap that goes out to another enemy. That's what you're going to want. I mean, give Jorvin some more wave clear, and it's Bud based. Sure, why not? So that's usually what you're going to be running. Again, unless you're trying to get the achievement, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. All right. Is that everything? Oh yeah, that was everything for him. So he's going to get upgrades. As if we come over here and we look at Danger Sense, we're already up to like a 24 less damage. So this does go up as you level up. I feel like over here we get Damage All Champions items. We get a Blood Fury Tattoo item. We get an Infectious Fury item. We get a Danger Sense item, so you can raise it through the items. And then Ultimate Attack Cooldown. So he does get a lot of items that can give him nice bonuses and help out your team. In terms of feats, you get both the Damage All Champions and self-damage items. He does get Danger Sense feats, so you could even run even more if you really want to do that. People know not taking damage shenaniganry. He supports that with his feats. Blood Fury Tattoo, Infectious Fury. And then he gets a Charisma 1, which I want to say qualifies him for Zerial? Oh, he's got to look. Yeah, Zerial. So there you go. That's our Bunny of Doom. That's the Bunny Beast themselves. Coming up next. Did we do? Yeah, we did. Okay, we did that. Zeraphon. Zeraphon is actually not an event champion. Zeraphon is our Icewind Dale Evergreen champion. What does that mean? That means you unlock Zeraphon just by playing through the Icewind Dale campaign. Do I have a guide for that? I don't know if I made a guide for that yet. Huh. I think I kind of did. I know there's a guide to Zeraphon, but I don't know how in-depth the specific portion for his adventure is. It's challenging, folks. It's a challenging unlock. So I think there's the base. Oh, I don't need to. I clicked the wrong button and I opened it up. Yeah. So it's a challenging unlock. We'll leave it at that for now. Zeraphon is a doppelganger rogue. Doppelganger. Do we drink if Guard doesn't know if he made a guide? I made one. You can drink. His support, or they are support. I'm sorry. My apologies. Their pronouns are they, them. They are non-binary. Zeraphon is a doppelganger rogue support. No affiliation. Base attack is just stabbing a random enemy. Because, of course, why not? Everything about Zeraphon, kind of the main stuff is around their ultimate. Perfect imitation. So Zeraphon imitates an enemy and buffs all champions for 60 seconds. Where is it? Right here. So specifically, they pick an enemy from the current adventure and imitate them for 60 seconds. While the imitation lasts, Zeraphon does not attack, but increases the damage of all champions. If the enemy has been seen in the past 15 seconds, the damage increase is further buffed. Here's what happens. Boom. See, now I look like one of the enemies that was on this screen, and it's going to stay that way. If you'll notice, this was a 10-minute cooldown. Yeah. 10-minute, no cooldown reduction item. That's just a 10-minute cooldown. So, it's going to last a while. Now, we want to reduce that, and we're going to do it. We're going to reduce it via the specializations. So you can see it's the very first ability is perfect imitation, because this is really what they offer. This is really what they offer. So, specializations. There's 6. There's 6 specializations. You can see here, it basically says high strength or low strength. So it decreases the cooldown of perfect imitation by 10 seconds for every other champion in the formation with a strength score either higher than 13 or lower than 13. Well, 13 or higher or 12 or lower. They've added these nice calculators to some champions, not all that need them yet, but some, to tell us in this current formation which one is higher. That's great. So right now, in this, not completely filled out formation, we're going to be going high strength. And we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to be looking for the one that's, there we go, we're going to go, it's dexterity. Hey, folks, it's going to go through all the modifiers. That's why I said it's 6. So there we go, there's 3 more. There's low intelligence. There we go, high wisdom. High charisma. All right, that was all of them. So that's brought this cooldown down by 210 seconds. And that's not even with a full formation. So this is how choosing the right specializations for who you have out in your formation currently is how you bring this down. Why do we want it down? Well, we'll get there. Adaptable, increase the damage of all champions by 100%, further increased by 25% for each stack of adaptable Zeraphon has. Each champion provides adaptable stacks based on the number of specializations that they do not qualify for. So this is kind of reverse. Whatever they didn't qualify for, you're actually going to get a general buff to the party for that's up all the times. Minion meets master. When the only enemy alive during perfect imitation is a boss, it increases the damage bonus of perfect imitation by 25% per second, stacking multiplicatively. Stacks reset when the ultimate ends. So this can build super high, and it's basically your boss killer. It's just you have to live long enough for it to happen. And it kind of has to align correctly with the ultimate, right? The longer the ultimate is up, the more damage you're gonna get as long as you live. Okay. Repeated imitation, increase the damage bonus of perfect imitation by 5% each time it's used in an adventure. This is why you want to reduce the ultimate cooldown. This right here, you want to reduce it quickly. You want to just put a familiar on it. Like here, bam, familiar. That's what it needs to look like at all times. Because this is every time you punch that ultimate button, it's going to reduce by 5%, or it's going to increase by 5%. The damages. It can stack multiplicatively up to 500 times. So this is kind of an in-run stacking bonus. Takes a lot of time, even with a max reduction of the cooldown. It would take a long time to get to 500, but it is something you can do. Some people have built out, or you can build out with your champions, a max reduction Zeraphon, ultimate reduction party, and then just throw on some speed potions with the familiar on there, and then just try to max Zeraphon out, and then finish your deep run to get maximum potential damage if you're using Zeraphon. That's a thing. Just know that this is something you're going to want to look at, right? If you're using Zeraphon, this is where their major power is coming from, is repeated imitation. Weak spot. So before we had a boss killer ability, this is the minion killer ability. Increase the damage bonus of perfect imitation by 25% each time the enemy Zeraphon is imitating, or an enemy with the same name is killed during that use of perfect imitation, and it stacks multiplicatively. Reset when the ultimate ends. So again, this is, you hit that ultimate once. As long as it's active and you're killing things on that level, it's going to keep building and building and building, so that you can potentially get a lot of damage and spike your damage for moving forward to the next level. Is that everything? Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, everything is going to be based on the ultimate. For item-wise, you get damage all champions because they are a support. Adaptable, minion meets master, repeated imitation, and weak spot. So basically bumping up all of the abilities. So Zeraphon is a 6-item champion because all 6 of their items actually affect what they're doing. There's nothing that affects the ultimate at all, because that's just not a thing. Feat-wise, you get damage all champions, adaptable, minion meets master, a couple of those. You get a +1 to all kinds of things, and that's to qualify them for all kinds of things. I think this basically qualifies them for all of the patrons, if I remember correctly. There is a one for repeated imitation here, adaptable in weak spots, so you can specialize Zeraphon however you'd like with the feats. Highly adaptable, as befitting a doppelganger. As befitting a doppelganger. And finally, our newest champion, one that got added over the holiday break. Oh, it's magic. We're already seeing one of her abilities fire off on the screen already. Viconia. Viconia joins us from the Heroes of Baldur's Gate. They updated this affiliation to basically include anybody who ever lived in Baldur's Gate ever and did something heroic. So, you know, now it's all the names. Neutral evil, a drow cleric. I turned you off. Healing support. Base attack is sling. Viconia slings a stone at a random enemy. Yeah, that's not super great, but that's not what Viconia is all about. Viconia is a cleric of Shar. She increases the damage of evil champions and Heroes of Baldur's Gate champions. So you're only really going to use Viconia in most cases. This can be adjusted later. If you're running an evil formation or if you're running a Baldur's Gate DPS champion, you know, like Delina. Viconia is very straightforward. So that's her buff. Cure Medium Wounds is her heal. Heals allies that are under 50% health, and it's a heal over time. So it's once per second for 5 seconds. And that's it. That's the heal. So that's the healing. The Cleric of Shar is the support buff. That's it, folks. Oh, no, wait. There's one more. Animate Dead. This is what everybody loves. When a non-boss enemy is killed, there's a percent chance that Viconia will seize control of its lifeless body and turn it against its former allies for 10 seconds, stopping their movement. So it turns them into a barricade, basically. While it is reanimated, it deals a percent of your bud to nearby enemies each second. What does that look like? It looks like this dude. This circle, this purple circle with skulls in it, is the radius of the damage that it's radiating out to potential friends. So Viconia will basically animate the dead like that and allow them to do damage. Can you spawn a little? There we go. There's one. Just like that. Now, anything that crosses into this path is going to take damage. There can be a lot of those on screen at once. But remember, it is a percent of your bud. And that basically makes it like a fire breath potion, only worse. Yeah. So, specializations, we can go Holy Power and we can buff that Cleric of Shah buff. It's 100% for each column away from the backmost column she is, stacking multiplicatively. So that means if you use this, you want to put her closer to the front to get the most out of that damage buff. Begrudging Respect, she turns the Cleric of Shar buff to affect neutral on the good-evil axis instead of evil. So that means you could use her for Ashara. Heroes of Baldur's Gate still covered under this, right? So it just changes and makes it so that you could use her with neutral champions. And then Turn Undead, it increases the chance for you to animate the dead by 100%. We're clearly going to go that one. But, you know, use whichever one you need and is going to work best for you in your situation, as with any specialization. But this one is really kind of specific to that. But that's it, folks. That's all she gets. That and her ultimate, right? She is super straightforward. Her ultimate is Unholy Blight. She summons a cloying miasma of cold and greasy darkness that damages all enemies and increases the odds of any enemies killed by it, triggering Animate Dead by 50%. Boom. That was it. It was that short little burst. But if you had a bunch of enemies on the screen, then suddenly you could be popping tons of Animate Dead like we are here right now, right? Item-wise, she gets 1 damage all champions items and then goes into more bonuses. So she buffs 1 Cleric of Shar. She gets an Animated Dead bonus. She gets a Cure Medium Wounds bonus. This does buff the damage of Animate Dead. I do want to point that out. So like right now I'm at 65% of my bud. So potentially it could get to 100%. I don't know what that item level number would have to be. But it would have to be up there. It'd have to be up there. And then she gets ultimate attack damage and cooldown reduction, as usual. Damage all champions items, and then we get Cleric of Shar. We get an Animate Dead trigger. That's why my numbers are kind of off. It's at 56%, is because I'm running this Animate Dead, but by 40%. But you can also do the Cure Medium Wounds. So you can basically hone in on whatever it is you can animate more dead. You can buff harder. You can heal harder. Again, she's pretty straightforward, so they made her, they gave her the stuff you need to do, and didn't make it lots of difficult. Didn't make it lots of difficult. Very difficult for you to pick her feats. So yep, those are our 5 champions from Q4 of 2021. That's going to be it, folks. We're going to go into the break. We already have a bunch of questions. I can see them building up over here. What are we at? Yeah, we got about a dozen questions so far. Jay's grabbing those. You can drop them in during the break as well. I'll go back. I'll hit up the ones that are on topic, and then we'll just go into a general Q&A. We'll have another general Q&A like the GG2E show yesterday. I'll be right back, folks.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Let's do it.
This could be it.
She's a little bit evil, a little bit good. She's a little bit sneaky, little misunderstood. Running away from her crimes like a spider she climbs. She's a little bit hero, a little bit villain too. She's a little bit scary, but way faster than you. No matter where you run, she'll be there pointing a gun. She's a tinker and a thinker, a wizard with her tools, a widow of the evil, and she suffers no fools. She's a little bit devil, dread domains woe, very quick on her feet while misleading her foes. But after a vampire's attack, her heart was turned blind. She stepped out of time and stole the devil's rod. Then she dropped her to rest on top of a god. She saved a friend with a pack. Now there's no turning back. She's a tinker and a thinker, a wizard with her tools, a widow of the evil, and she suffers no fools. She's a hound in the night, and a tempest blind. For a friend she will find. She's what goes bump in the night. She keeps her soul from running aground.
I'm so happy with it.
It feels good.
Feels good. All right, we're back, folks. I am going to hit up all the questions that Jay kindly pulled for me. Let's see if we can find some things that are on topic. But first, just because we're going to auto level up all the champions. All right. Looking for on topic stuff. Prince Guinevere, can you show us an example formation situation that sets Briv's hype stacks really high for volume up? Not really. I mean, here's the thing. So if we're looking that sounds bad, but if we're looking at all these, right, this is about not being defeated in the last 20 seconds. I'm still killing everything right away, so I can't show off that, right? And this doesn't have anything to do with your formation. This is each adjacent champion. So technically, like, what's the most? Technically, you would put Brig here to have the most, but that would just, I mean, that would give him 6 adjacencies, right? If we were doing that. And then we'd want to place people whose attack damage is higher, and then, I mean, you know, like, so there's all this finagling, but it's all pretty much here. The issue is that the big one is critical moment, and we want to build up 100 enemies on the screen. I can't really demonstrate that at this point in this adventure. We'd have to go quite a bit further for that to happen. So, I mean, the big thing is surround him by a bunch of enemies, or by a bunch of friends, and then, you know, try to trigger all those. But these are only going to give you, you know, I mean, you're talking about 1 or 2 extra hype, which, yeah, sure. I mean, you want all you can get, but keep in mind you only ever have to do this once. So, you know, it's not like you have to do it every time. So you'd want to find a formation layout from a campaign that allows you to surround him with as many champions as possible. This type of situation can happen on Sword Coast. It's not super challenging. But there's other potential formations where, you know, like, again, if you choose the specialization that buffs everyone, gives him more if there's more people in front of him, then you'd want something that's got more back here. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't looked to see, like, what's the ideal formation layout for Brig. Someone probably has. But that's, again, this is kind of intro stuff usually, and that's, you know, more high-end crunching, super min-max optimization. You hit up the Discord for that kind of stuff. Foolish Genius, how does Whittle's attack cooldown reset measure up to Alcoria's cooldown reset? Are they separate triggers? They're separate triggers. They both do basically the same thing. If I remember correctly, they're both just a chance to reset the base attack. Let me go. Okay, we got to level her up a bit. Come on. There we go. Okay. Yeah. 50% chance that the base attack cooldown will immediately reset. Right, so over here it's 35% chance to immediately reset. So that's how it measures up. Alcoria's is 50% versus the 35, but you need 7 stacks of Spellcaster School to trigger this feature of Watchful Order, right? So that's, you know, that's a highly magic user situation, whereas Whittle, you know, it's lower, but Whittle can do it for anybody, right? The second part of that was, hold on, get that back up there. Are they separate triggers? Yes. So if you're using both of them, they could both potentially trigger. How reliable are they together? I mean, one's 50% and one's 35%. It doesn't. They don't change each other's percentages, right? So they're 2 separate chances to trigger. The nice thing about Ikoria is, along with being higher, is it's anybody that qualifies for that. So anybody with a magic base attack. Whereas Whittles is adjacent people. So again, you're losing some percent chance, but you're potentially giving it to different types of people than Ikoria. Ikoria is only the magic users. Hey, Super Steve, if you're doing a tough trial or variant, does Jorvin make it into your click debuff formation? I have not put Jorvin in my click debuff formation yet. I have not tried that yet. I think the comparison here would have to be comparing like Eliwick to Jorvin in this slot. And that's not a thing. It's not a thing I've done, because I think the only time lately that I've tried to go super deep was in trials, and I didn't need it, because that's the thing about me. If you've watched my my shows on my channel, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr, I don't mess with a formation unless I need to. So I'll just throw something in and I'll see if it works. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then I'll start making adjustments. So as long as I'm successful in what I'm doing, I don't necessarily try to get the max possible optimal formation, because it wasn't needed. So I haven't necessarily needed that yet, or been in a situation where I could even try it. Now there's a lot more Patron variants in the game. They just added a bunch. Recently, they added a bunch at the end of last year, too, and I'm still trying to catch up. I'll be doing those. Be firing that up starting this coming week, again, on my channel, for Idle Chatter Patron Edition. So as I work through those, yeah, who knows? We'll see. We will see. SailNet, is Jorvin useful as a spreader when using Eldritch Claw, Tattoo, and Freely in Expect Chaos spec? I mean, I'm not sure if the bud, like the arcing bud damage, would qualify as something that applies. I haven't tested that, but he is, and it's each attack. I don't know. I feel like you might as well have somebody who's doing a little more of an AOE than that. I mean, if that's all you have available, sure. But generally speaking, I feel like there's better options. Nazgul, did anybody try to see if Viconia's undead worked to slow enemies down? Well, they stopped them in their tracks. It's not about slowing them down. Again, seize control of its lifeless body and turn against its former enemies for 10 seconds, stopping their movement. Like, if you see, like, they run into them, and then they're just kind of like, well, you're dead. They shouldn't get through them. So unless I'm reading this wrong, and the stopping the movement just means that the animated body doesn't move, which is entirely possible. I have not used Viconia in a super deep push at my wall. So, in everything I've used Viconia on for this, it's always just nuking everything when it hits it. But there's no generic slow effect attached to this damage, so that wouldn't do anything. Yeah, I don't know, because everything's just dying instantly. Stan Mechanic says he saw enemies with high move speed go right through a circle without getting hit. All right. So it doesn't stop them in their tracks. So this is confusing then. And what this is referring to, the stopping their movement, is referring to the lifeless body. Good to know. Yeah. So, I mean, if something moves through it faster than 1 second because it's dealing damage each second, then wouldn't do anything. But there's no slow effect applied. Like, it's not like the if it's not triggering a damage hit, it's not going to... Like, I think what you're talking about is like when you click on someone and it stuns, it's not doing that to them. That's not really how that works. That's a click effect. Isils Arndor, Narak buffs Viconia's percentage chance to Animate Dead, and I've gotten her damage from Animate Dead over 100% as well. Is there anything else that might affect the damage for Animate Dead? Probably just Narak. Narak's the only one that really buffs ability effects currently. Well, hold on. No. I was going to say, if she was a magic base attack, Alcoria could, but she's not. She uses that sling, so they took her right out of Alcoria effect. So yeah, it's got to just be Narak. And then a general question, but it's kind of applicable here. Adventurers 55. Where do you get all these champions from? I'm new to the game. All of these, except for Zeraphon, arrived in events at the end of last year. So events happen usually every 3 weeks. We have one starting on Wednesday. So Wednesday there will be 3 champions that are arriving, 2 returning from the past, 1 brand new one. You can tell what's coming up. If you hit A for achievements, collapse everything. The bottom event is going to be what's happening next. This was an old champion, they're not returning. This is an old champion, they're not returning. Morgaine is returning, Talon is returning. So we will see the return of Morgaine from Acquisitions Incorporated and Talon, and then we will see the arrival of Rust on the Harbor, which is a champion from the Ox Ventures Guild. Tabaxi, a new Tabaxi champion. It's a Goldfind champion, so I think everybody's really interested in seeing how that scales. But yeah, so events happen every 3 weeks. In between events, there's usually there's a weekend like this one where there's a natural time gate, which if you click that little gate, it'll come over here. I already did mine, but it would say free time gate, and you click on view available time gates, and up here it would give you 3 options with a big free banner, and you can pick one of them to get a new champion. Those are 2 of the ways that you can get new champions. The third is, well, with Zeraphon. Zeraphon is an evergreen. Evergreens are unlockable year-round by doing something. Most of them are unlockable by completing parts of the campaigns. So Zeraphon is available in Icewind Dale. You can also get one by clicking on the menu here, clicking newsletter, signing up for the newsletter. That's going to get you Hitch. The only other one outside of the game is there's a Nerds candy promotion where you can unlock the Nerds character. They're interesting. But that's by buying actual nerds in the real world and submitting a receipt, etc., etc., etc. All right, I'm going to go back. General questions. So if you have any general questions about the game, if you're new or you're not, you want to ask questions. It's been a while since we've done Q&As. Fire away. Wisu, correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard you say before that you like to use short folk for Ashara. Is that still up to date? And if so, what are your go-to shorties? I mean, so far I kind of stick to short folk. Who do I use? I use Regis, Penelope. Hold on. Now I've got to go through and look. Regis, because I'm not in like push mode. I'm like, what would I normally have? Oh, and Freely. So Regis, Penelope, and Freely. Sometimes I'll have Human in for a while, but I find he doesn't do as well when I'm at my wall. So yeah, usually Regis, Penelope, and Freely, but it can vary. I mean, I don't always have to do short folk. It's just that tends to be what I default to. That's what I default to. Kajitora. Why does everything cost so much already? Oh, yeah. I had my upgrades set to 100, so that's That's a lot more expensive than most people would have normally been looking at. Sergei, two-parter. I'm going on vacation for a week or so. Would my best Modron automation target just be gem farming Mad Wizard during that time? Yeah, absolutely. Second part, would you advise Krull or Avon for a new player? Yes. Just unlocked Dragonbait and I have one Motor Core and Mert after about a week of playing. Okay, yes, they're both great. I'm probably still one of the few people that would still recommend Krull for a brand new player. Krull is a super snowbally champion when you're brand new, because he provides everything you kind of want. He provides power for pushing. He provides gold find for upgrading. That gold find then turns into more favor, which then creates more gold find, which lets you push further. Like, it's just a nice big snowball when you first start out. So I would probably still lean towards Krull for a brand new player, since you've only been playing for about a week. Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to go away for a week, then setting up automated Mad Wizard farming with some familiars on your champions and whatnot is the best use of your AFK time. Nibble76, does the slow and steady global from Helm still provide the buff for legendaries? Yes, because a legendary item... here, let me give some context. This is what a legendary item looks like. It's got that orange border. A legendary item is actually both legendary and epic at the same time. The dev stated this, so because both effects are still there. So I still have the effect, the basic epic effect of the item, which is for this one, it increases the post-stack buff of Generous Djinn, right? The legendary effect gets added onto it at the bottom. So it is both, a legendary is both legendary and epic at the same time. So it still qualifies for slow and steady. Still qualifies for slow and steady. Formation. Yeah, that's where I was trying to go, Harvey. For a faux formation. I was trying to see if there's like an R in the faux, yeah, just formation. Soulsbane had a question. I feel like I'm missing something. Gems only getting at most 7 to 10 gems per boss. That rate, familiars and skins are so far outside of approachable scope. Is there a way to get gems faster? Did I miss something? So if you're brand new, your primary delivery method for gems isn't from bosses. It's from completing adventures and variants. Like those base adventures and variants give you gem rewards based off the level, like the area goal for each of them. So that's generally doing lots of adventures and variants is going to generate lots of gems. You also pick them up from bosses along the way. Now there is a thing called gem farming. And I think that may be what maybe you've heard about gem farming, and maybe you're like, but I'm only getting like 7 to 10. Well, but that's, yeah, everybody gets the same number, roughly. The difference between them is how fast you're getting them. So gem farming is really only super viable once you have lots of speed champions, and potentially, speeding up your progress through a place like Mad Wizard, so that you're killing bosses quickly, and then resetting, going a certain number of levels, resetting and doing it over and over and over again. You generate a lot over time, and the amount is based off how fast you can go with your speed champions. If you don't have a lot of speed champions yet, you probably shouldn't be gem farming Mad Wizard. Unless, like the previous person said, they're going on vacation. Well, yeah, then that's if you're going to be AFK, gem farming tends to be, you don't want to just for a long period of time. Then gem farming tends to be automated. Gem farming tends to be the best thing. But, yeah. So when you're newer, you just want to go out and complete adventures and variants. You're going to build up a lot of gems just from that. If you want, you can start, from day one, you can start going all in on speed champions, and trying to gem farm. And I mean, at a certain point, it's going to take off for you, but you're trading off, you would basically be going, I'm not going to make any progress in the actual storyline stuff for the game. I'm just going to get lots of speed right now. And then hopefully that lets you power through everything later. I mean, it's entirely possible, but it just depends on how you want to play the game. But what you're missing is speed. What you're missing is speed, champions. Phoenix Force 27, do you know if Timegate piece refund works on a free Timegate? I think so, but here's the thing. Don't. Look, if you're a newer player, the whole Timegate piece refund thing is not something you want to worry about. It's not something you should even consider. I think they just kind of need to take it out of the game, personally. It's a holdover from the original version of Timegates. In the original version of Timegates, when you opened a Timegate, whether it was a natural Timegate or a manual Timegate, it was you just got 3 random champions. So even you could save up 6 Timegate pieces in the old version of Timegates, and then you were still rolling the dice on what 3 champions you were going to get. And what they did is they put in the refund for people who rolled the dice and got a shitty selection of champions, to put it frank. And then you'd pick one, you'd open the Timegate up, and then you'd bail, and then you'd get 2 of your Timegate pieces back. So it wasn't as painful as just, getting chests for a champion you already had or something, right? That's not how Timegates work anymore, though, now. I mean, the natural ones, sure. Natural one, you're still going to get 3 random champions. Maybe you don't want those champions, but you do. Unless all 3 of those champions come up full epic, you want to get the chests. You want to gear up all of your champions, and you want to get them to full epic. So it's worth getting those 3 gold chests. If that's all you want. If you don't want item levels, then don't bother trying to push for silvers. But grab those 3 gold chests and try to get them full epic. Because if you own the champion, you want to get it to full epic so that it's usable, like highly usable in variants, but also so that, when you start going in and popping patron chests to try to get epics on the other champions you do like a lot more, that they're not going to these ones that you don't like, that you ignored on your Timegates. So, yeah. Kazoo Kid, if I close my Timegate, I'll be able to open another free Timegate, so you get a new free champion? No. You only get one, and on a free Timegate weekend, it's one free Timegate opens. Once you do it, it's done. You close it. I mean, you only got to choose from one of those 3. Once you complete it, it's completed, and if you want to open another Timegate, you have to spend Timegate pieces to open it. Now remember, nowadays, with a manual Timegate, once you open it, you get to choose from any champion that ever came out via an event. So, like right now, see, nothing says free. That means I'm spending. But I can choose from any champion. There's a lot, right? So the only champions that aren't in here are evergreens, right? So yeah. 7K TV, is Esmerelda any good? I like Esmerelda. Esmeralda is specifically a niche champion. She has her niche that she's really good in. It starts off as undead. She's very good against undead, and she's very good against armored stuff. She gives you a double credit for armored or segmented health stuff. So as long as you're using her in that kind of situation, she's fantastic. She can be adjusted for her focus. Like I said, it starts off with undead, but it can be changed a little bit. So as long as you're using her against one of her focuses, she can be solid. Are there better buffers out there? Sure, but you're going to get in situations where Esmeralda is actually a fantastic choice for you. You just have to recognize. You have to understand Esmeralda to know when that is. Eknor, are there other ways to get familiars outside of the gem shop and purchasing packs? Yeah, patrons. Each patron shop has a familiar available. Where is it? Here, like the baby coatl for Zariel. So each patron store is going to have one familiar that you can purchase, but everything else is gem store or cash purchases. Once upon a time, they gave some out for free. They've done that on occasion, but it shouldn't be relied on. Dr. Scott Math, what is it that buffs Balos Generous Gin? The post-stack bonus. I've seen it at straight 600% soft cap, but usually it's several magnitudes higher. It's pre-stack. Let's pop him up here and see. Because off the top of my head, I don't know. So Generous Gin, Najim brings them back, immune, yeah, so party's damage increased by 600%. This is the flat one. So we're most likely looking at his item levels. Yeah, post-stack bonus. Because you can, where is it? Where is it? Right down here. So this is probably the multiplier you're seeing. So the base is 600%, and then it gets applied here because this item specifically says increases the post-stack buff of Balos Generous Gin. So that's what we're looking at. So you're going to get the base number multiplied by this, going into that. Plus I've also got post-stack buff Feats over here. There's a 40 and an 80. And that's all going to help that bonus. It's all going to help the Generous Gin bonus. Whitem always wondered if opening chests one by one has a better chance of dropping a shiny rather than opening them in bulk. No. When you open them in bulk, the game runs a fast simulation opening them in order. So, opening them one by one is just a waste of your time. Because technically the game is opening them one by one. It's just doing it fast and showing you the results. Kazoo Kid, is it always worth it to farm event favor instead of campaign favor? To a certain extent. Like, you grab what's easy for you to grab. There's a certain point where pushing isn't going to, like, the time it takes for you to push, if you're earning less than 1%, like less than an E01, like right here I'm at what? For this adventure I'm at an E13, all right? But if you can see that's a less than 1% increase, but the thing is I have, like, if this was an event, I have an E35 favor. If I couldn't push, we'll just say that Corellin was an event. If Corellin's favor was an event favor, if I couldn't get to E36 in a single push, then it's not worth it for me to do that push. And frankly, at the level in the E30s levels, it's, if I'm not getting another E05 to get up to E40, it's probably not worth it putting my push. But if you were looking at a lower number, like if you're at EO7 and you can do a push and you can get to EO8 on one push, it's worth it for you to try it again. But if it's going to take you multiple pushes to get to EO9, then you're done. You've gone as far, like, you need to look at your formation and see if there's any further way to get more damage out of it. But you're basically at the point where you reach a point where the power of your account as a whole isn't going to allow you to go further. You need to get power from somewhere else to allow you to get higher. So you'll eventually, as you do more and more events, you'll figure out where you can easily get to. Currently, my account lets me get into the E50s in an event. So I know if I'm in the E30s or 40s for an event favor, I know I can still push and get more. It's worth it for me to do that. But if I'm in the E50s, it's not worth it for me to try to get to E60, right? You will learn these things. You'll learn roughly where you're at and how quickly you can get to higher levels. Sergai, Whittle gives me more damage bonus than Celeste in my formations. Okay, it's always going to be subjective based off gear. But then I'm lacking any sort of heals for my tanks. I'm trying to push the 600 wall for achievement favor. I mean, if you're at 600, heals don't really matter. I'm just going to straight up be honest with you. Healing matters a lot when you're new. But at the 600 level, healing isn't what's going to be holding you back. So you're usually just going to want to do damage. So I'm trying to push the 600 wall for achievements. No crawl yet for good as Zeraphon. Is it realistic to push that far without having a healer? Yes, it is realistic. Is Calliope Tyrell a good enough combination of heals? Well, Tyrell is a healer, but you shouldn't be using him as a healer. And Calliope's shields, you're on the right track. Shields tend to be better at high level than heals. But what you're usually looking for is self-shielders. So, like, Ayla is a self-shielding tank. Her self-shields are going to be far more important than any heals you can provide her. Tyrell is a self-shielding tank, but it's based off his ultimate. So when his ultimate falls off, if you don't have his ultimate cooldown maxed, when his ultimate falls off and the shield disappears, he's going to fall over. So usually at that level, until you get Tyrell's ultimate maxed, usually Ayla, a combination of like Ayla and Briv, are your better pushing tanks. Briv's going to heal himself and everybody else anyway. So yeah, so you're not really worried about Celeste at that point. Twitch username is needed. In my possible time gates, there are a few missing champions. For example, Whittle. Are not all champions available this way? No, they are. Yeah, if Whittle's not showing up in your time gate availability, submit a ticket, because every champion, sometimes they'll block like upcoming champions that are coming up in an event, and you can't select them. But every champion should be here. Hold on, now I'm going to go look. Yeah, there's Whittle. They should all show up. They should all show up. All right. A Fallen Angel full epic equals all purple items? Yes. Yes, that's what we talk about when we talk about full epic. Now, sometimes we'll qualify it like full epic on your core and evergreen as opposed to full epic on everything. And there's reasons why. But yeah, full epic means all purple. Gundam Guy, what should I be using my gems for? Somebody probably linked you to the visual aids made by Mars. There's one in there that's a gems visual aid that Mars and I collaborated on, and that's kind of going to explain things. But when you first start off, like the first thing you want to buy is the mage hand, but after that you're buying chests. And then you'll alternate, you'll bounce between chests and familiars for a little bit. But really you want it, when you earn gems, you want to spend them on chests, because chests hold gear and lots of other consumables that let you that give you power, but really gear is your power in this game, even duplicate gear. The more duplicate gear you get, the more item levels you get for that gear. And the more item levels you have, the more powerful it is. So opening lots of gear, trying to hunt those higher rarity items is what you should be doing with your gems. B. Greenwood, what is your go-to specialization for Baloth? The one on the right. The show must go on, or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called. The one I chose when I was just doing this here. Hold on. Yeah, the show must go on. Basically, champions resurrected by Nijima are invulnerable for an additional 10 seconds. I don't care about that. But it increases the pre-stack damage bonus of resurrected champions by 100%. The generous Jin buff is one of the most fantastic buffs on a support champion. It does take a lot of finagling to get that applied, but as long as you have just one person with a Jin buff on them, it makes that spec worth it. So generally, if I'm trying to push, I'm going that right spec. If I know I have more than enough damage to reach my target, then I might go the middle spec. But basically, that's me saying I'm not going to need damage, so it doesn't matter. But if you need damage, you want to go with that right spec, and you want to learn how to Jin stack. Sheikh Mugen, I've been trying to do a master tier Tiamat run, but I don't have the vials, and no one seems to be running one either. What should I do? Farm something low. I mean, do whatever's available. Lately, I just do whatever pops up that's somewhat high and close to where I want to be. I finished a tier 8. Tabarja, they did say they posted in the LFG channel. I finished a tier 8. I have 9 and 10 to go, but I don't think my account is reliably at that power. Oh, no worries. I'm just letting you know. I don't think my account is reliably at the power to finish 9 and 10. I mean, I probably could if I got the right rolls, right? Like I did that tier 8 and I got screwed and I got int 10 plus restriction, and that basically meant I couldn't contribute at all. And that feels bad. That feels bad. So I tend to do, I try to do tier 5 and above if one's available. So you just kind of do that. You just kind of do that, and you know, right now in the current iteration of trials, it's just about constantly trying to stay in a trial as constantly as possible, even if it isn't necessarily the one you want. And hoping that eventually you're going to end up in one that you want, or you'll be able to start your own one. RoboGriff, sorry if this is already answered, but in a time game, can you continue to run the free play to get silver chests like you do during... Oh, in a time gate. Can you continue to run the free play to get silver chests like you do during an event? No. If not, how do you get more gear for the gated champions? So you'll only ever be able to get those 3 gold chests. That's it, in a time gate. Your silver chests you earn by going unique 100 levels. So the first time you hit 100, the first time you hit 200, the first time you hit 300, etc. So running free plays over and over and over again gets you nothing in a time gate. It's all about how deep you can push. It's all about how deep you can push. And they just added patron perks that actually can multiply the number of silver chests you get out of those. I'm a little disappointed in that one, but hey, if you wanted more silver chests, now you get them. But yeah, that's how you get silver chests. But the gold chests, the only gold chests you're going to get are those 3 that come from doing the 2 adventures and the 1 variant. Phoenix Force, I'm not getting the Nerds code emailed. Is there any other way to access the code? I mean, if you put your stuff in on that online form, every time I did it, I had an email within like 12 hours, probably within 6 hours. So I would check your spam folders, and because I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is I got mine every time I did it. And yes, I because I put in multiple codes and I got all the adventures that they offer, is why I say that. Dr. Scott Math, follow-up. So if I see 600% at soft cap again, the bug report... No, I saw 600 again. 600 is the basic number. Generous Jen. Oh, well, parse name increase. Hold on. You put him in and then it'll be... Yeah, 600%, right? But again, when we go over here, we look at... This is 600%, but the post-stack bonus should be higher than 600%. So if you're seeing post-stack bonus and it's only at 600%, then there's a problem, because it should be counting your item level off your slot 6 item, and it should be counting any feats you have. So yeah, if you're only seeing 600% and you have the item and you have that stuff, but you've got to be looking over here on formation buffs here, where it says post-stack bonus. Because this over here is always going to show 600%, because this is just a description of the ability. This is where you actually see what the ability is doing. Keith Jung, I've opened enough gold chests to get epics for all my evergreen champions. Nice. Am I right in thinking I shouldn't bother spending gems on gold chests now? Not necessarily. Currently I'm saving gems for champion feats. Okay. Before going back to silver champs for item levels. This is a good use of gems. I mean, some people definitely champion that method. I'm not one of them. I still spend all my gems on gold chests. Why do I do that? I do that because if I look over here and I look at how many silver chests I've just looted in the last couple weeks, I have over 2,000. I don't need to buy silver chests. I want to buy gold chests. I bought these, folks. I didn't loot 700 gold chests. So I spent my gems on buying gold chests so that I can get a bunch of gold chests. Lately, I've been trying to get like 1,200 for every event. I don't know if I'm going to make it there this event. But if I get like 1,200 an event, that basically full epics the newest champion for me. And gets them a nice, like 100 average item level 100 or higher, So that's what I do with my gems is I make sure that I'm getting gold chests because gold chests are going to be giving me bounty contracts. Bounty contracts give me event tokens. Event tokens let me full epic the newest champ, right? So I don't spend item levels on silvers personally, but there are people that do. I think it just really kind of depends on your gem income. Some people have so much gem income that they can easily buy 1,000 gold chests and thus keep their new champions epic and everything and fine, and then they use the excess on silvers. I can see that argument, but if you're not at that point, then I think still buying gold chests is a good way to go. But the thing about, you're saving some for feats. Yeah, absolutely. Like if there are some feats that if you've got full epic on your core and evergreen, and there are some champion feats you want, yeah, start picking up the champion feats. There's still a lot of champion feats I don't own. Fallen Angel, thank you for the stream. So much information to process. Yeah. Welcome to Idle Champions. Welcome to Idle Champions. The key is just learn a little bit at a time. Apply what you've learned, adjust, adapt to it, and then get more information. So we do these streams every week for that. Tanzir 1200, I've got around 60 champions. Do you think it's better to stop getting new champs and use time gates and patron chests to gear the current ones up, or keep collecting new ones? I go Pokemon on it and collect them all. Sorry about that. Time for another cough drop. You get all of your champions to blues pretty easily just from all the Electrums that you get off streams like this one. So blue is kind of functional. Epic's always obviously nicer, but blue kind of makes everything functional. So you can get functional champions just by running the time gates and opening up Electrum chests. But what you can't get is all of those champions. Like you're not going to get those out of chests. So you need to pick up all the extra champions because there are going to be the bulk of this game is variants. There are so many variants with so many different restrictions. You're going to find yourself unable to complete stuff, unable to get influence for patrons, etc., simply because you don't have certain champions. I have every champion in the game. There's still some variants I can't do because I need more champions. I need champions they haven't added to the game yet, as odd as that sounds. But that's kind of the way. With all of the patron variants, there's going to be some that you could try to overpower them with favor, but I don't like to do that. I like to beat them with a formation, and to do that, you need champions. So I say keep collecting champions. Opening patron chests isn't something I recommend doing until you have, like what the previous person said, where they have epics on all their core and evergreen champions. You want to make sure you have epics on all core and evergreen before starting to spend into patron chests. Because that currency, patron currency, is very hard to come by. Patron chests are very expensive. And you don't want that epic, when it finally drops from a patron chest, to land on a core evergreen champion that you could have bought a cheap gold chest for, right? So keep that in mind. I don't know if you're there yet. If you are, then yeah, you can start opening patron chests, but you still want to keep investing your time gate pieces in those other champs. Now, does that mean that you just ignore? Like you might have, say you're really trying to get one champion full epic because you use them all the time. Sure, stop for a while. Focus in on that one champion and try to full epic them out between time gates and patron chests. But it's the combination of those things that's going to get you the best progress, not just doing one or the other. So if there's a certain champion you really want full epic, go for it. But in general, you want to keep collecting champions. Sheikh Mugen, is it worth it to push time gate favor? I mean, it's a conversion, but time gates only convert at about a quarter. Well, not at about, literally a quarter of what an event conversion gets you. So it's like an E10 time gate favor is going to get you a 25% conversion, whereas a E10 of an event favor is going to get you a 100% conversion, right? So you have to understand that time gate's not going to get you the same bang for your buck, like the same boost for the time that you spent. Personally, I run the first adventure. I'll push. With a half an hour potions. I'll push and then I'll stop, and then the second adventure is when I try to go deeper, because then I've got favor that lets me do it faster. I don't try to push super deep on the first one, because you have to work harder at it because you're at 0 favor. So I use the second adventure to push far. I can usually easily clear 1,000, but I don't. Well, not easily. I can usually clear 1,000 with some work, but I don't bother. I usually just try to clear 800 or 900, depending on what bosses that time gate has, and I call it a day. And then I do the variant, and once I complete the variant, I just bail. So I don't necessarily favor farm in those. But if I really needed favor somewhere, then sure, maybe. Like if I was really trying to boost favor somewhere and I just didn't have it, sure. But currently I'm not in that position. I just feel like time gates, you just want to grab what's easy to grab and then get out. Foolish Genius, has your evaluation of nerds changed since it was added to short folk? No. No. Nerds still isn't going to beat out what I was talking about earlier, like Regis Freely, Penelope. Like Nerds isn't going to beat that combination out for me. But again, I have every champion, so. I mean, at some point, could they come in handy? Sure, but does just them being added to Ashar's bonds change their functionality? Not really. Silly Simon, who are the top 5 champs to focus my stacks of blacksmithing contracts on first? Thinking Human, Artemis, Briv, but still lacking a lot of recent epic gear. I mean, unless you're going to go all in on Artemis, like he's going to be your DPS, then you don't need to put blacksmithing contracts on him. Human is your first priority. Briv would be the second. If you're going for lots of speed stuff, then I like capping Sentry out. Some people don't bother. They just go all in on Human. But then if you don't get to use Human, and you can use Sentry, then you don't have any item levels on Sentry. Like I like having all my options available. But I mean, those are good for speed. For pushing power, Avern's a pretty solid investment because his mirror images apply, 4 times. That's helpful. And you can use him with multiple different DPS. Whereas if you're going all in on like Artemis or Kron, like you're saying, these are going to be my DPS, but then when you can't use them, you're screwed, right? So keep that in mind. Sergai, are there hard walls in higher levels, as in from level 500 to 501? It's a 2-time HP increase. Oh, I mean, so the further you go, the harder it's going to get, but there isn't necessarily a hard wall. Every time you finish 50 levels, that next one is going to be like 51, 52. That's going to be harder than, I think it's usually 52. Is going to be harder than the previous one. It starts to get difficult like that, but it's not. There isn't anything anymore that's like outrageous. There used to be this hard wall at like 1,002, but that got removed. Now they just kind of do this disincentive thing at like 2,000 or something, I think. I don't know. I don't pay attention because I don't go that far, because the only way to get that far is to do some, I don't know, shenanigans that I'm not comfortable with. So no, not really. Not really. Nothing that really needs to be worried about for most players. WW Monster, I just started Avernus recently. I have 3 parties, 2 cores. Should I grind variants to open more variants for patrons or run through Avernus? So go ahead and play through the storyline of Avernus. If you can get all the way through, like to Elturel's Last Stand and complete it, because that's going to open up some things for you, like trials and another patron. That being said, once you've gotten into Avernus and there's a couple, can't remember the names off the top of my head, but there's a couple variants that are high level but very easy. And if you do those, knock those out, and then do them for patrons, you basically can max out patron perks. Well, not max. You used to be able to max out tier 5 of patron perks, or get most of them at least, and get lots of stuff to buy stuff with too. So Avernus kind of unlocks patrons for you really solidly. So keep that in mind. But you should just be able to push through and just do the straight storyline adventure, so you can open up like Trials of Mount Tiamat and another patron, then go back and do the variants. Smudik, why is the Deacon variant boss, but you mean the Deacon time gate boss, so hard? Because that's just, I don't know, because he is. I don't know who it is. Is it the Devourer? If it's the Devourer, it's because it's the Devourer. I don't know. I mean, you got to give me a name, or at least tell me what's going on there. I mean, I guess I could try it. I don't know that I have access to that. Did I put it in? Did I put the name of the boss? Sometimes if it's a super difficult boss, I'll put it in the Champion's Guide. So let me just go check. Deacon was Founders Day. So here's the thing. When they first started off, like the first event was High Harvest Tide. The bosses were easy, but then as they started making more and more adventure, like more and more events, they started making the bosses more challenging. So some events just have far more challenging bosses than others because it's when it was created. Yeah, I didn't make a note in Deacons at all, so I don't know. Oh, Devour is for Cthulhu. Okay, it's an armored dude. Okay, it's an armored dude then. I mean, like not all event bosses are going to be easy. You know, they started introducing segmented health and some healing effects, and then they had armor, and yeah, it's not like they decided, hey, we're going to screw over anybody that goes after Deacon. It's that event. It's not just Deacons. It's Founders Day in general. Those bosses apply to all of those champions. So that's just how they designed Founders Day. Yash Daily, should I get many silver chests or rather a couple of gold chests? I'm assuming this is spent with buying them with gems. It depends on what your gear looks like. If you don't have a lot of gear on your champions, like if it's literally not there, or if it's white, silver chests are probably the more efficient way to go with your gems to just get some kind of gear on your champions. If you have white and green on everything, or all green, like greens and some blues, then you would start buying gold chests because you want to get the upgrades. Because silver chests can only drop white, green, and occasionally blue, whereas gold chests will drop greens, blues, and occasionally purples. So it just depends on where you're at in your gearing up of your champions. Again, the hold on, how champions. There, check out that link. There's a gems visual aid in the link, that Imgur link that just got posted in chat. That kind of breaks that down and gives you tips. Great Son of the Mountain. Does a champion qualify for gear in a patron chest if they need a feat to get that qualification? If the feat is equipped so that they actually qualify, then their gear will drop out of that patron chest. But if you swap their feet, thanks, Jay. If you swap their feet so they don't qualify for the patron, then their gear won't drop from that chest. That's a way you can add someone 2 chest draw, 2 gear potential, and then remove them in different situations if you want to. But yeah, I mean, if you can make a champion qualify for a patron, then you can make them qualify for gear from that patron's chests. It's okay, Jay. Xiao Wang, Ashara is the best DPS. Well, I mean, that's a loaded statement. She's your best DPS for most players when they're kind of they're not a brand new player using Jarlaxle anymore. But they're a better DPS than Char. Who should be DPS for second and third party Modron cores? I mean, whoever your best DPS option is. Usually, here's the thing. Usually you're not pushing super hard in those other parties if you're using background parties. I mean, you can try to knock out variants and stuff or adventures, and I mean, use whatever the best DPS that you have is, like based off the formation that you're building. But it's not like you necessarily go, okay, I'm going to get the very best DPS and then build each formation with the best DPS possible. I turned you off. Stop it. And then maybe when you finally get to the finish, then you swap over your primary DPS and you finish off that run or something, right? You don't necessarily have to have like super duper pushing stuff. That being said, Ashara is generally, in the mid game. Once you're past the brand new and you're not using Jarlaxle for everything, Ashara is solid as long as you can match her bonds up, right? As long as you can light up both of her bonds, she's going to be a big deal for you. A good swap that you'll need for patrons after her is like a Zorbu, but he needs some investment, some time investment to be super solid. But there are a ton of kind of what I call mid-tier DPS who are 100% functional and can do their job. They're just not top-tier DPS. And I don't necessarily keep a list of them because in this game, if you're not top-tier DPS, you kind of just get ignored, right? So yeah, I mean, you just look for whoever's doing the best job for you, and throw them in as your DPS. I will say Hitch is a super secret DPS. So if you're running a Char in one formation, you might want to run Hitch and Krull in a background party. Just saying. Bitter old guy. I just pulled the hardest variant in my first time gate. Is it worth the effort trying to get the third gold chest in this situation, or is it a matcha waste of my time? So I'm assuming what you mean is you got the 175 goal variant, like where you have to get to level 175. Yeah, you can do that. It just takes you're gonna have to farm some favor. 175 usually means you want like EO8 to E10 favor in an event, and it's the same for a time gate. So you may need to do some deep favor pushes. If you didn't do them in the adventures, you're going to have to do it in a free play. But if you have the power to get to 175 in an event normally, then you should have the power to do it in a time gate. You just have to farm up a bit. To Gamer Horus, is it better to close a time gate when I got one item for every slot, or run over and over to get silver chests for that ship? Again, you can't run over and over again. That's not how time gates work. It's not like an event. Events and time gates are two different mechanics. They're both delivery systems for champions and gear, but they function in two completely different ways. Silver chest is just going to be how far you can push. It has nothing to do with just running things over and over again. I mean, you do in a time gate, you want to grab all 3 gold chests, and then as many silver chests as is easy to do. So if it was very, very difficult for you to get over to clear level 200 and get your second silver chest, you're probably not going to get to 300, so it's time to bail. However, if it was super easy for you to push past 200, and you got to like 275 and you think you can do another run and get 300 easily, then go grab that third one, right? Like, that's how you have to look at it. but you don't just run things over and over like in an event. In events that you can run free plays to 50 repeatedly because you're paying tokens. You are still limited by tokens, so they are exchanging those tokens for your gear, for a random chest, basically. But in a time gate, you're not restricted by anything except time. They're not going to let you run free plays over and over and over again just to farm chests. You have to push and show that you can earn them. Stand mechanic. How does armor and segmented health actually work? Technically, segmented health is and armor are kind of the same thing. Armor is just like a higher level of it. So segmented health just means you have a health bar in an enemy that has all these tiny little segments in it. And if you hover over it, that enemy is going to have like 50 life. And that means it has 50 little segments that you have to chew through, which means you have to hit it 50 times. But you just have to do enough damage, like 1 damage, to clear each of those segments. And you know, in 99% of the cases, every one of your champions is going to be doing at least 1 damage, so all your champions can contribute. And even familiars can contribute, but familiars will only click off segmented health or armor once every like 6 seconds, no matter how many familiars have on the field. That's a limitation. They want you to actually hit things with champions. Armor is going to be a little different. Armor will show all those little segmented sections, but it's also at the far right, it's going to have what looks like a gray shield. And when you hover over the enemy, it's going to show you an actual health total. It's not just 50. It's going to show you, some kind of E number, right? As long as you're using scientific notation, which you should be. And what that means is you're going to divide that total health by the number of segments. Again, usually 50. Like with this rotten log, the yellow, if it shows yellow, there's 25 yellow segments, and then there's 25 red underneath. That's how that's working. But if there were a shield here, that would mean it's armored. You'd hover over it, it would have regular health, and you would divide that by 50. And that tells you how much damage you need to do minimum to remove 1 chunk. And you can do way more than that. Like if you only need like E10 damage to remove a chunk, but you do E150 damage with your attack, well, you're still only removing 1 chunk. It's just the minimum allowed. And what they did is they introduced these systems so that you actually have to fight the boss, and you're not just one-shotting it. It's not just dead or gone. You have to actually, it creates a combination of, you have to build a formation that has a combination of damage and survivability to beat a boss like that. So that's the difference between the two. Now you can remove multiple segments at once if you're hitting with somebody who has a multi-attack like a Shara or Hitch, where they throw out multiple attacks at one time. That can remove multiple segments. There are champions like Esmerelda and Human that can give you extra credit for removing segments. And when you combine all of those things together, it looks like a buzzsaw just going right through something that has all those little segmented health things. So usually the difference is segmented health is a reference to both types. The first type that just needs 1 damage is usually referred to as a hit-based enemy. So your any hit is going to take off an amount, and the other is usually referred to as an armored enemy. But segmented health refers to both because they each have segmented health. Yinzir, what's the trick to Artemis pushing? I just did at the end of last year, I did Gaarawarr's Guide to the Artemis meta. That video, I don't know if it's up on the YouTube channel, and honestly, I don't know if it's even on Twitch anymore. Hopefully it'll get up on the YouTube channel. If it hasn't yet. Ooh, hold on. I'm like, did it? I'm gonna go look real quick. Because that's kind of the best explanation. Because Artemis is complicated. Artemis needs all kinds of things to actually be functional. I don't see it. So I don't know. I don't know if it went up there or not. That's unfortunate. If it's Sir Guy says it's still on Twitch, so watch the Twitch VOD for that. Here on this channel, sorry. Artemis needs a lot. His functionality is based off observing other DPS, which means you need lots of DPS/support options, and you still have to buff correctly, and he wants like positional formation abilities, and there's a whole lot going on with Artemis. I get higher overall DPS with him, but the lack of survivability versus Ashara short formation makes it fall apart much sooner. I'm curious. I mean, you're saying lack of survivability, and I don't know why you're less survivable. I mean, you're obviously using a different formation. I don't know why that would make a difference. Is it just that you're not killing things as quickly because he has less wave clear? That's kind of his ultimate. And then the issue there would be that you just don't have super sturdy tanks. Maybe. I don't know. You might want to hit up the hashtag formations channel in the Discord. Last question, because we're out of time. Sir Guy B, since I will be gone when the next event launches, but will be Modron AFK farming while I'm gone, will I still collect event tokens? Yeah. Even if you didn't have the game open and running, the server still will accumulate event tokens as long as you log in before the event ends. Not going to be an issue. You just got to log in before the event ends and then start using up those tokens. So we're going to head out, and the song we're going out on is for Jorvin. It's called Bunny Beast. Thanks for hanging out. If you have more questions, hit up the Discord. There's always people available in the Discord to try to answer any question you might have. We'll be back next week. I believe most of the CNE streaming schedule is back next week, so Mars is going to be available in the mornings to answer your questions just about every day, Monday through Friday. I will be back with GG2E on Friday and another tutorial show on Saturday. Before that, though, I should be starting my streams back up on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. Idle Chatter is usually on Tuesdays, and Idle Chatter Patron Edition, where I focus on really hard patron stuff, is on Thursdays. Hit up my Twitch. I should update that schedule this weekend. Thanks for hanging out, everybody, and thank you to Jay for pulling questions and moderating chat. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.
Shadow fell, dropped by hags into my personal hell. There's chaos inside I will never quell. This rage will never dispel. Took the shadows inside me and I made them my strength. Learned to live like a beast to survive. To get back to my home I would go any length. In the darkness I learned to thrive. Scratch and claw my way back to the light. Gonna make those hags wish they were dead tonight. I am the burning beast from a rage unleashed. My vengeance is coming for you. I am the burning beast. You've become my beast, and there's nothing that you can do. My deadly bite, ripping monsters apart, eyes burning bright, tattoos blazing with terrible might. Soon I'll have my prey in my sight. Hunger for vengeance burning cold in my gut, growing darker day by day. When the beast is unleashed, if you value your life, get the hell out of my way.